What's going on, guys? King Trats here, back with another video on the channel, and today we have got some Spanish cooking, Hispanic cooking, something I actually grew up eating. My mom used to make it all the time, and I actually do have a lot of Hispanic people in my family, but I've never made it before. So we freestyled, but it came out actually kind of good. I'm starting to drool. We've got some Arroz con Pollo. It basically means chicken with rice, but it's made into one pot. It's a one-pot dish. Let me walk you through the process real quick because I actually have some footage of it. First, I started out with, I didn't use sofrito, but I used a mirepoix because I didn't have sofrito, but I have a mirepoix, which is basically carrots, celery, onion. Added the seasoning to give it a little bit of a flavor to it. Let that brown off. Then we added our chicken to that. Let that brown off on both sides. Flipped it over, made sure that cooked off. Took the chicken off. Added some sausage. I needed extra protein. Added some sausage, browned that off. Then we added our rice, clean rice, right back inside. Then of course, I'm starting to drool. Added our stock to it, put the chicken back on the top, a little bit of seasoning, little garlic, little cilantro on the top, covered that, let that simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. I want to say about 30 minutes. I didn't time it, I kind of just, like, it sounded done, so I took it off. Took that off, and that's what you see when I take it off right there. And this is the finished product. When I'm telling you that this smells so good, I don't have words other than you can hear the in my voice. If you do want to see more of this cooking stuff, you're digging that kind of the cooking footage, I don't really like doing it, but I will. If you're digging that, go ahead and hit a thumbs up. Let me know that you do like it, and I'll try to do it as much as I possibly can with the homemade stuff. Oh, time to go, man. Time to go. The chicken, usually people make bone-in chicken using this, but I prefer it boneless because I don't like picking bones out all the time. But just get a look. Oh. Goodbye. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. The sausage was spinach and red onion chicken sausage, so I added that in there too. You can see that hanging out right there. And because I didn't have sofrito, it actually adds a little bit something. Just look at this, man. I know I do show and tell with my food all the time, but get in here. And the chicken obviously is going to be super tender because it's just browned off and it cooks in with the rice. This is actually like kind of like what my mom used to make with half the calories. Jeez. Let me pour my drink before I forget. Schweppes, as usual. What I got today? Black cherry. Got my seltzer. I try not to drink soda every day. I went through it yesterday, but diet soda, of course. Try not to drink that every day. So, I usually will allow myself 1 to 2 meals with the soda. I still do drink a lot of water, usually close to a gallon on a daily basis. But I can't, I need to get in here. And I know there's going to be somebody in the comments, and I feel I always forget to add the hot sauce. Now, I don't have many conventional hot sauces, but you'll probably see me use Truff a bunch of times. People ask if Truff is good. I've tried all their products that are out so far. They have another one that's on the way. I'll be trying that too. And I am actually a fan. So I wouldn't be using this. I do not get paid to use it. There's no like incentive or, you know, I would keep it a buck with y'all. I reached out maybe a long time ago when it came to the person behind the scenes in Truff, and they asked me if I wanted to try it. And I said, bet. That's as far as it goes. If it was bad, I would tell you I didn't like it. I will say this though. That's just... What kind of face am I making right now? Oh, man. Nah. 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 I'm not joking. This is the first time I've made this dish. I've seen it a ton. Like I said, my mom used to make this all the time. Relative. I've eaten it a lot. Tonight I was like, I have chicken, I have rice, why not make a arroz con pollo? If I mess with it, pretty damn good. This is crazy. I'm gonna mess around with a lot of this kind of stuff now. I originally was gonna make jambalaya, but at the last minute I just said a little switch up. I'm like overloaded right now with just I really do gotta start writing this stuff down. Again, when it comes to recipes, like this seasoning, everything in here, it's eyeballed. I don't know how much of anything I added. Nothing. I can tell you the weight. I can tell you there's 350 grams of rice. I can tell you there's 20 ounces of chicken. I can tell you how much sausage is in here, but I cannot tell you seasoning wise what I did. But I need to do it again. This is going in a rotation. For sure. One pot. Super simple to make. Biggest advice anybody that makes a one pot dish. I've done it with some West Indian stuff. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'd wipe me up. Man. Again, if you're going to make a one pot dish and you're gonna make rice, jambalaya, any kind of dish like that, when you cover it, I know it's tempting. Do not open the lid. Do not lift the lid. Excuse me. Until it's done. Don't touch it. It's the same thing as when you cook a steak. Don't touch it. Just, I know, but don't. When I first started messing around in the kitchen, I used to do that all the time. And the rice would come out like gummy. Or too wet. Or overcooked. You gotta let it sit. You gotta let it sit. Wow. Wow. And you can see, let me just pull it, I'm gonna put the chicken to the front. Super tender. You know, you just, like, if you can use a spoon to break that apart, but it's got that nice bark on it. I'm sorry. I got nothing. I can't eat this fast enough. I just want to like stick. I just put my whole head in it. Man, I did kind of look over yesterday's videos, comments I should say. I want to keep the Q&A thing going, so I'm going to dig into some of those right now. 1 second. First one here says, I just got to say I really enjoy the content, especially the homemade meals. Thank you, we got one today. I do have a question for you though. I'm at a point where my diet isn't enough and I'm not sure what to do exercise wise. I'm currently down 93 pounds from last year. Wow, that's impressive, seriously. And the exercise that I've been doing stems from both physical therapy. You had major surgery on both knees. Any advice on where to start would be much appreciated. And first of all, I want to say congratulations. It is not easy to have a weight loss of any shape or form. Personally, I lost 70 some odd pounds, like 73, 70. I can't remember at this point, but I know how hard that is and how much dedication it takes. So, first of all, GG's, congratulations to you. And I'm glad that your knees, I'm sure that, you know, the weight loss helped with pressure on your knees. So, with that being said, I don't know where you're trying to go from here. I don't know where you started, what your starting weight was, and I don't know how much further you're trying to get. But I'm going to say this. The further down in body fat that you're trying to go, the more tight, honed in you're going to have to be with your diet and your workouts than ever. There's a huge difference from going from 20% body fat to 15, from 15 to 10, and anything below that, I mean, you've really got to be dialed in. And from what I see, again, I just kind of want to look over it again, so I want to make sure I'm not... I don't know where your diet is or how you dieted to get to where you are. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to make sure that you're tracking everything. If you're, I don't know where, again, it's hard for me to say, but I'm trying to give you as much info as I can. I'll say this. If you aren't tracking your calories, you have to start and work from there. I don't know what you're doing workout-wise. I would just say to increase your activity level, not to a crazy amount. Your workouts right now, you seem like you're just doing physical therapy, so you haven't really added in a workout regimen. I think once you do one or both of those things, you'll start to see it. Also, lastly, if you are working out, resistance training of any shape or form, which hopefully you are, your scale may not change. Your body composition might change. It's very common for someone, not just so good, to not have the scale move, but their body composition changes. You can have two people with the exact same weight, exact same height, and look entirely different based off of their body composition, meaning what is your body fat percentage and things of that nature. So, just to close it up, if you aren't tracking what you're eating to a T, you have to get started with that. And if you aren't tracking your workouts, or you aren't working out, you have to get started with that. At that point, you would have to either increase or decrease your intake or your exercise expenditure, if that's what you're really looking for. But if you've lost 93 pounds already and you feel good, I am just telling you, you don't want to get to a point where you start to lose energy because you're trying to lose weight, eating at a deficit. I would say more focus on your training and your workouts and do it from there instead of eating less. Like, never a good thing. And I've said this from my own experience. When I started this whole thing, I was about 270 pounds. I got all the way down to about like 200. I was about 198 at one point. My energy levels, my workout started to suffer. So I was really lean. I purposely put on 15 pounds because I'm not going to sacrifice my workouts for a little less ab. And just taking from experience, I've said this before, dad bods are winning. So don't feel like you need to be insanely shredded. Unless you're an aspiring bodybuilder, that's really not sustainable and feasible just to enjoy your life, amongst other things. A lot of people tend to do things like that based off of what they think other people might perceive them as more attractive, more desirable. I'm going to tell you this, and I'm not saying this as a flex. I have had a belly, and I have had an absolute washboard, you can do laundry on my stomach abs, and everything in between. It didn't change anything, other than the fact that I had no energy when I had complete washboard type. I still have abs, they're just not, like, my body fat is like maybe 11%, 12%, At one point it was like 7, 6, and I was shredded, but I hated everything about life. Just being honest. So I started eating McDonald's, and I'm much happier. Much happier. So congratulations. Keep up the good work. I hope that helped. If you need a little more in-depth stuff, like I would have to know a lot more about your situation than what you gave me. So, hope that helped. On to the next question. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit quicker, but I still want to answer this one. It's pertaining to me talking about Tom Brady and the fact that he has 7 championships. Someone put, and I'll put it up on the screen, Robert Horry has 7 rings in the NBA. If you don't know who Robert Horry is, he played in the NBA. He was on the Lakers dynasty teams. He was on the Spurs dynasty teams. So he has a lot of championships. 100% true. And I am not trying to discredit Big Shot Bob, which is what he was known as, because he hit a lot of clutch baskets on these teams. That's why they called him that. But I cannot put him on the same level of a Michael Jordan or a Tom Brady or a LeBron James or anything because of this. If you want to be in the GOAT conversation, greatest of all time conversation, you have got to be the man on your team. Kobe Bryant, Shaq, LeBron, Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, you can go on. At no point in Robert Horry's career was he an MVP, or the best player on his team, or even the second best player on his team, or even the third best player on his team. Those Lakers teams were known for Shaq and Kobe. The Spurs teams were known for Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and Manu. Like, Robert Horry was a big part of those teams, but he wasn't the man. You get what I'm saying? So, as good as he was, and I liked him, seriously, because every time you needed a big shot in playoffs, he was there. But so was Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr has a bunch of rings, too. Do you consider Steve Kerr one of the best players of all time? Nah, he ain't even in the conversation, even though he was a knockdown shooter. So, I get what you're saying. I don't know if you were saying, like, yeah, but nah, bro. It just didn't happen. All right, that's my sports talk for today. Let's move on to the next one. Next question says, this coming from a chef and seeing what you have made, have you ever thought about a career in the culinary arts if you weren't doing fitness? And that is a great question. As a person who loves to cook, as a person who loves food, I would never disrespect an actual chef by saying that I want to be a chef. I understand what kind of career, the dedication, the years of practicing in your craft that it would take in order to do that. I've never once called myself a chef. I do consider myself like a home cook. That's more of a level. In short, I'm a foodie. I love to make food. I love to talk about food. I love to review food. If I ever had to take a career in food, it would be what I'm doing now, to be honest. If I could do this on a larger scale, I would do it. If I could do something close to like a Man vs. Food or a Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, where you're kind of being a foodie, but you get to eat, and that kind of stuff, for sure. But my technique, I don't know how to chiffonade and julienne and do all that crazy stuff. So probably not being a chef. I would rather enjoy being a cook where my food doesn't have to be perfect presentation, and I see all the stuff that chefs have to do, like the art that goes into like plating. My plating looks like something you would want to eat in someone's house, not in a restaurant, in my opinion. Or you were eating at a restaurant like that wasn't like a 5-star, but it was like really good, like diners and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So the other thing about being a chef that I really wouldn't like is, I don't know if you noticed this, but I just made a big thing out of Arroz con Pollo. Did you see the pan that I used? That's a big pan. I made enough to feed a whole family, and I ate it myself. So I wouldn't enjoy cooking all of that food all day and not eating it. I couldn't imagine. And I give props because chefs make food all day, like cooking, and then you give it to other people and they eat it, and you don't eat it. I'm finna eat all my food. So bad. So, if anything pertaining to this, I would like to get to a point where I can actually have a recipe book. But it's very hard for me because I cook off feel, and cooking off feel is not going to teach anybody how I'm making what I make. But as time goes on, maybe. I'm very overloaded right now. I've been putting out content every single day, probably for the last like 4 or 5 months. And add on that my full-time job during the day. I would never give that up. So I love being in the food community, but I don't think a chef would be my play. I hope that answered that. I can talk for hours about nothing. Sorry. One more, and this is more in the comedic category if you ask me. I just found this one funny. I wanted to answer. Have you ever watched your videos with headphones? I guess you're implying that I yell a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't watch my videos in their entirety. Many reasons. Number one, I can't stand the sound of myself chewing. It's very cringe for me. It's hard for me to edit my own videos. A lot of times I will edit them with the sound down or off. I know a lot of you guys watch a lot of mukbangs on YouTube. Maybe you guys watch some ASMR stuff. I can't do it. It's even worse when it's my own. It's hard, like, oh, I can't listen to myself chew. So, I don't know if I'm too loud or what. I only got one voice. Sometimes I'm very animated and I yell. I just want to eat this in my hand. A lot. Which, you can ask anybody that knows me IRL. I yell all the time. Not at anyone. I'm just a very animated person by nature. What you see me doing here is exactly how I act in real life. There's not much of a difference, other than the fact that I'm not talking into a camera. I'm goofy. I joke a lot. I laugh at my own jokes. I smack when I chew sometimes. I talk all throughout movies. You know, I'm not trying to say this is like I'm like the best person ever or anything, but I'm a relatively laid-back person. I'm very chill. I don't judge anybody, which is very weird for me to get used to because a lot of doing this kind of stuff is being judged, which is natural. I mean, there's viewers, people watching. They're gonna judge you because that's how viewers watch. I watch stuff and I'm like, oh, they're weird. You know what I'm saying? But it's a weird dynamic when it comes to social media, because when you watch somebody on TV, I watch reality TV and I'm like, yo, this person's weird. Like, that's natural reactions. But with social media, the gap between viewer and whatever's on your screen, you can just comment it and I'll see it. So when somebody tells me, you know, that I'm ugly or I chew too much or I talk too much, like, that's not the same as being on television and them being like, yo, I hate this guy's voice. So there's a little bit of a weird thing to it where you feel, and I've talked to a lot of content creators that feel the same way. It's almost dehumanizing to be a content creator. I don't, not saying that as a complaint, but a lot of people will speak to you as if you're not an actual person. And I'll say this, I was actually watching a Twitch stream, FIFA stuff, and he was going on a little bit of a rant about, and it's 100% true. You don't know what content creators or a person on a screen, especially one you can just talk to, you don't know what's going on in their real life. And I'm not saying this from my own, like, I'm good right now. But you don't know what's going on in a person's life. And subscribers and followers and money, yes, they're cool and it's great, but that does not equal happiness. And to be perfectly honest, the more attention that you have, the less happy sometimes you can be. So just think about that before, like, and I'm not just talking about on my channel, anybody's channel, like when you want to write like rude stuff, like, you don't know what's going on in that person's life. And I didn't bring this up until I was all said and done with, you know, what happened. But like, my mom was in the hospital about to leave this world for the better part of a month, and I got people telling me to shut up and you know, stuff like that. And I can handle that stuff. Like, I'm built for that. I've been trolled since I was, you know, I got trolled as a college athlete. I had Facebook hate messages and worse. when I played college ball and things like that. So I'm kind of used to it, which kind of helps. But some people aren't built like this, man, and it hurts their feelings, and it genuinely can make them sad and depressed, you know? Like, I'm weird, so it doesn't really bother me, but just think about that kind of stuff, because you wouldn't want it to happen to you, and it's very easy to do this kind of stuff behind a phone screen. You know, the majority of people that talk crap on the internet, they're usually hiding behind a fake profile, or it's not really them, so, you know, they got like a buffer zone, so it doesn't really bother them, but they got their own stuff going on, and just be nice to people, man. Like, don't be a jerk. There's no reason to be a jerk. If you see somebody you don't like, you can even drop the thumbs down. I see the thumbs down. The same two people that do it all the time, but, you know, and just keep it moving. You know, there's no reason to, you can critique stuff, sure, but to tell someone, you know, I've been told some bad stuff in the last 4 years, stuff, you know, that, like, they're wishing that I'm not, like, here type stuff, you know, or, you know, stuff having to do with what I look like, if you catch what I'm saying. I've had all kinds of stuff like that, and, like, there's been other people that they don't handle it like I do. So just be careful with that kind of stuff. You wouldn't want this stuff to happen. You just think, well, what if that was your brother or your kid or you know, your parents or somebody? Like, at the end of the day, like, we're all someone's relative. Like, just treat people the same way you want to be treated at the end of the day. But anyway, that was dope. This meal was stupid good. Like, man, that was like most casual. Man, I want like more of this. Seriously, that was 350 grams of rice too. That wasn't a little bit of food. That was a lot, but it was delicious. Today's Tuesday, right? I didn't even tell you I got a car. I got some stuff going on. I'll talk about that tomorrow. Somebody remind me, please. I traded in the Chevy. I got another car. I'm happy about that. Got a sport mode. I was whipping. Anyway, it's been your boy King Straps. We'll be back. Where's my lid? Tomorrow. More content. I love y'all. The Ensigns have made it to YouTube.